Hey, Ghost Machine fans, this one's for you.
Welcome to the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast, episode 103. We're back, and Albert Einstein with Simon Pure are back at it again with a suspiciously helpful Benedict Arnold in tow. It's 1909 in the world of the Unnamed, and it's time we learned a bit more about America's founding fathers. And spoiler alert, they all seem a little suspicious. I am Snoggle, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, Nick Wilson. How are you doing tonight, babe?
Well, these founding fathers, they are suspicious. Some of them are complainers that they haven't gotten their immortality ritual yet. Some of them apparently have the fits of rage. Like there's a lot to be learned just in the bio, let alone what our protagonist talks about in the issues. So really excited about that.
Yeah, none of these dudes can be trusted. And as a woman, I'm not surprised.
I still think John Hancock is pretty cool. Ever since he had that epic "come with me if you want to live" moment in the beginning, I've always thought that I wanted to see more John Hancock.
Throw one woman into this mix of wow, we found this magic to make us immortal. I think it would have been a more organized success story.
Oh, absolutely, for sure, and everyone would have benefited from it, and everything would have been okay.
Yeah, everything.
Absolutely, fixed. But sadly, that's not what happened. But gladly, we've made some new friends who are strangers on the internet, and we'd like to shout one of them out, and that is on Instagram, Brandon Rodriguez Bravo, for the original art that he did of Mr. X-Ray from Hyde Street that we featured in the most recent Ghost Machine Fan Content Friday, which, as you may know, we do bi-weekly. And he also recently put together a Geiger original piece that we're going to be featuring in the next bi-weekly segment of Ghost Machine Fan Content Friday. And so remember that if you don't have to be a penciler or an inker or a colorist, if you do other cool stuff like cosplay, or like we had a friend recently that did Lego stuff. We have a lot of people that post pictures of the Mezco Junkyard Joe figure in amazing settings. We'd love to see it all. If you want to send it to ghostmachinefans@gmail.com, and we'll feature you in that segment.
Amaze.
But enough about that. Snoggle has some epic news.
So today is Wednesday, April 15th, and later this month, the trade paperback of Sisterhood, a Hyde Street story, comes out. We thought it only appropriate to celebrate with not one, but two superstar creator guests. That's right. On our April 29th episode, we will be interviewing the creators of the book, Maytal Zchut and Leila Leiz. Very excited about this one.
So excited. And it's you go reread those issues again. I enjoyed that series, but it's a really good sit down, just read through them. So you do want to make sure to get that trade paperback, because if you're like me, I could never touch those issues again unless they be damaged,
Unless they be damaged.
Well, man, I couldn't be more excited about this. I don't believe that Leila has done a lot of podcasting. I do know this will be her first one with Maytal. So, man, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
And we really appreciate that. So excited to see them both. We are going to do a giveaway related to some swag of theirs. that will involve you all out there being able to ask them anything, as the kids say out there in the social media giveaway world. It's like an AMA has been thrown at me as a suggestion. So more information coming about that. As you know, this episode is going to air on Wednesday, April 15th. By that time, we most likely will also have announced more information related to that giveaway. So you'll have an opportunity to ask them some questions. And in doing so, you'll also enter a giveaway for some stuff that we're going to announce very, very soon. But today, we're not talking about the horror verse, are we, my dear?
No, we're not.
We're talking about the world of the unnamed.
Yes, we is.
And to do so, before we jump into Redcoat 17, we need to talk about the covers that are available for you if you run out and pick up this issue, because it came out today.
There's 4 of them.
4 of them. Tell us about the first one.
Starting off with a bang. It is what we just love to see, this wraparound cover from Brian Hitch and Brad Anderson. I love on the back the window pane showing this is essentially like everything that happened in the past between Benedict and Simon.
Let's walk through each of those glass panes, because the front half of the wraparound is Benedict charging through a window with the axe of lies in hand, attacking Simon, presumably. And either this is in the past from when they fought, and that could be it. I'd have to go back and look at what he was wearing. Or this is something that's going to happen, and it hasn't yet, because all has been peaceful thus far.
Mm-hmm.
But in the back, there's a lot of these scene mechanisms that Brian uses, and like broken glass and different things, like in the apples and the Johnny Appleseed one, where we can see things that narrate oh yeah, this is who this is, and this is what they did. And so I think we can walk through this. I think the upper left one is these are all Benedict Arnold. It's Benedict Arnold advising George Washington in like at the Battle of Trenton or one of those battles. Then in the upper right, it's the ritual that happens when somebody gets like all weirded out and messed up. And remember, Benedict used to say that was Washington, but then he wasn't Washington. We still don't really know that much about that specific ritual. And then there's Benedict shaking hands with Washington, and I think in a different, or shaking, and then there's Benedict shaking hands with the Redcoats, because he's Benedict Arnold, right? And he betrays you. But I think he was like a spy or whatever. And then it's him using a magical book, him kissing the hand of the girl, the JP Morgan Chase thing, right? Yeah, her. And then him in the scene, and then over Simon, but then also ending up naked at the bottom of the harbor.
Poor guy. No, I love this. I think it's beautiful. Yeah. Although the second cover.
So here's what I'm going to say. Simon Pure dual wielding Tommy guns. Did you notice those are Tommy guns?
Yeah. With like this just super gnarly look on his face.
And this is Kyle Hotz, who we've seen do a lot of covers that are mostly like creepy, horrific type of deal. In the background of this one, there's a lot of creepy skulls and eyes and badness. And it's also it wasn't the Grand Dragon, but like the head of the Founding Fathers cult guy, the evil guy that we thought was Benedict, and it was Benedict, and then it wasn't who they thought it was or whatever, right? And he's standing in front of him with a Tommy gun in each hand, which would be hard. That would be hard to shoot. But Kyle Hotz is really cool. I really like Kyle Hotz. I really wish we got like issues done by Kyle Hotz, but I imagine his work, without how wild and crazy and detailed it is, it may be difficult to ask for that. The C cover, we've seen this artist do a handful of others. It's a little different.
Yeah, I like it. It makes Simon looks like younger. You know what I mean? Like, uh-oh, you're
Yeah,
after me.
clean shaven. Surprised that the Native Americans are chasing him. There's a bunch of them behind him. And it's by Jesus Merino and Brian Reber. Yeah, we've seen them do a few other covers together as well, I believe. And at least we've seen each of them do covers with Ghost Machine for sure.
I think it's very well done.
And it's fun. And we haven't seen that occur yet. Like, so we don't know exactly when that occurs, right? Or if it's going to be part of this story, but presumably not part of this story.
Even if it's not, we know that that's definitely something that would happen to Simon.
It for sure. It reminds me of like a scene in Maverick or Back to the Future 3 or something like that. Like the Mel Gibson Maverick.
Yeah.
And the last one was another Invincible homage. Remember how we've been talking a lot about those?
Yeah.
And this has multiple characters. It's got all the different characters from that, even Battle Beast in the background. Battle Beast is a series now. It's pretty popular. And they got all these like little octopuses, which reminds me of Starro.
Looks like they're like brain octopuses.
Yeah, they do look like brain octopuses for sure.
They're coming to get you.
But something from that world, and there's a bunch of neat characters. There's even like a massive dinosaur guy punching a guy, and there's like a multiple woman. It looks like there's Invincible fans are out there like, man, this dude. I promise you, I know tons about lots of comics other than Ghost Machine. Invincible is not one of them though, but I'm going to check it out because of the show, and this has been talked about quite a bit by a lot of credible, wonderful folks. And that makes this your spoiler pause for Redcoat 17.
Yes. We're going to start with a creator roll call. We've got Andrew Curry and Brian Hitch, who are our inkers. Brad Anderson, our color artiste. Rob Lee, our king of letters. Brian Cunningham, friend of the show, editor. And Steve Blackwell, designer. Let's go.
Man, I love my David Bowie, Brian Cunningham shirt because it says at the bottom, David Bowie changes. And then it's like grid of all these different David Bowies. So it's like a play on changes because he's also in a different outfit in all the poses. Very smart humor, Brian Cunningham. So I'm going to catch you up on what's been going on recently in the world of our favorite immortal. The roguish British mercenary, Simon Pure, has had many adventures since he became immortal during the American Revolution in 1776. In 1892, Simon is captured by Benedict Arnold and his cult so they can incant a spell to transform Simon's immortality into a fiery apocalypse for the American continent. With help from a young Albert Einstein, Simon foils the plot, with Arnold becoming trapped underwater within New York's harbor and never seen again. Now, in 1909, Simon has a wife and children, but his happy life is disrupted by Einstein's return. Bearing foreboding news, Arnold is back. He claims to want to help Simon make his family immortal. But can he be trusted? Let me ask you this, Snoggle.
Yeah.
When Jeff and Brian were on the show just a few episodes ago, And I was joking about how this all seems like it was working out for Simon and everybody being friends.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff did make a point of saying he didn't think that what was going to happen was what I was expecting. And I don't think I know ever what to expect with Peter Tomasi or Jeff Johns or Brad Meltzer or any of the storytellers, Maytal, anybody, all the artists that, you know, contribute to the storytelling in surprising and amazing ways. I don't think I can. But at the same time, this issue still, despite the cover, despite the A cover, shows no indication other than an awkward moment with a knife that we're going to talk about of foul play. And so we don't know, Ghost Machine fans. We get stuff like a little early so that we can read it right when it comes out with you. But we don't know what happens in issue 18 yet.
So we begin on August 2nd, 1909.
Mhm.
And extra, there's an axe murderer on the loose. So I like how it begins with like, don't forget this man came out of the ocean and immediately was like, ha! And killed 6 people.
He did. And then he explained it as the first one was self-defense. And then the other 5 were like in a fit of rage or something that he couldn't be expected to contain after repeatedly dying and resurrecting at the bottom of the harbor for decades or whatever. And you can't, I mean, that would drive a person insane.
Yeah, I can't exactly disagree with him there. I would probably come back a little vengeful.
Right away, they remind us what you said. He was an axe murderer. He killed 6 people already. They want to set the tone and emphasize that. Simon comes out of the shop. Albert's waiting for him and is like asking him what's up, what's wrong, what happened.
Because Benedict Arnold just confronted him and said, "Hey, I'm going to help you make your family immortal. Don't worry, bud. I got you."
Right. And so he's got that shocked look on his face, like, what the heck am I going to do? And Albert's assuming like you probably like you just punched him in the face or something, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. At this point, he even like is in his inner monologue points out that Albert has suffered my company since he was 13 years old. During our adventures together, I have disappointed him, surprised him, and bewildered him. I've hurt the boy, but he's never gone quiet, not like this.
Like, Albert knows Simon was in there. Benedict Arnold's playing nice, like he did in the past. And he's like, seriously, dude? Seriously. And I love how you cannot trust Benedict, or like they kind of have a stare off, right? And he said, you cannot trust Benedict Arnold, Mr. Pure. And then Benedict Arnold waltzes out. I wouldn't turn my back on myself.
I know. And it's just so like, dude, you're obviously a con man. To me, he just comes off like totally disingenuous.
Yes. And so he goes on this long monologue, right? And I love these 3 panels because it's just Albert staring him down. Benedict, good afternoon, Albert. And then the same face from Albert. He's just like, get out of town, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have a hard time not being like, okay, how about you agree to go to jail for like 100 years for the 6 people you murdered? And since we know you're immortal, and then call our like people that we set up to watch over you for those 100. I don't know. Like it just, I would have a hard time. I don't know. I get it. Simon's in a world where he's never been happy like this. He's never been a good guy in this way, taking care of others. His heart is open. He hasn't seen this guy in a while. Like, I get it. I would be of Einstein's mind on this if I were them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he's doing this whole thing like, I don't have any secrets anymore. I saw Simon's family and it changed my soul.
And the soul is like dark, like in bold. A soul as sadistic as yours does not change. And then it's kind of evil, but like thinking from a perspective of if he has changed, he's not wrong. He said if I wanted to hurt Simon or his family, or you for that matter, I would have had plenty of opportunity already. It's like, okay, dude. Don't have to brag about it. And he goes through this like monologue of the quote, nice things he's done. And I'm like, it sounds like creepy level stalking and inserting yourself into Simon's life. He spoke with Jenny, the florist, like the lady who does the daily devotions for the wife. He spoke to his boss. He even went to a market to like speak to his wife. And like, this doesn't give anyone some type of like, that sounds kind of weird and suspicious pause. We just get from Simon, you spoke to Margaret?
Yeah, and that's kind of a like, huh? Yes, I did, albeit briefly, and I realized something extraordinary. If Simon Pure can find love, then I'm not beyond correction. Like,
I am prepared to admit error and do so, to accept defeat even. I mean, like, now that we're reading it for the second time, I do not trust this dude. I was like, as I was reading through it the first time, I was like, okay, all right. But I mean, that just doesn't feel like part of his personality. But he could have gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs down there and gone back on, land, not dying over and over again, and really been like, dang, this dude's happy? Huh. I don't know.
I would assume that he is absolutely insane and that his actual, real, every moment does nothing but think about getting Simon trapped underneath the sea for an extended period of time or some sort of vengeance or something. Holy cow, holy moly. But like Jeff said, not what we're going to expect. And I don't remember the last time anything was what I quote unquote expected.
Yeah.
In Ghost Machine.
I think something interesting here is he's like, obviously, then he gets to the bit where he's like, yeah, I'm going to help Simon make his family immortal. And I'm going to share the secret with you as well, Albert. So we obviously know if the secret is given to Albert, he doesn't use it. Because we've already seen him die.
Well, presumably, I think if someone, we don't know this, but I would think if someone is mortally wounded or dead, you can't perform the ritual upon them. So if it doesn't get done, I mean, there's going to be a lot happening. And then I think I remember Brian and Jeff alluding to the coming issues being pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Not that this series would ever be heavy. But
immediately, Albert is in a different frame of mind than Simon. He's like, this is crazy. You're a murderer. And I do like, you can see Simon is like, not listening properly. He's offering restitution. He's got treasures. Like, their families will never feel hunger or cold. And I like this because it's someone still trying to sell the Dockside Massacre paper.
It is. That's a really good point. And that's one of those, like, yeah, you could do it in film. Like, it could be in the background and a guy could be like calling it out, or a newspaper person could be calling it out. But I feel like that's such a well-placed thing because what happens is Simon's trying to justify it by saying he's going to facilitate the dead, the murdered people's families never being hungry, cold, or have to work ever again. He even says they'll have servants for the coal and the cooking. And then in those panels is where we're reminded of the 6 killed by the axe murderer, like you said. But then Benedict's behavior after he says that is to say again, essentially, because he already said once that if he wanted to get him, he would get him. But he says again, he doubles down on it with a knife. He says, "You must know, Albert, if I wished you to be dead, you'd already be so," with a knife to his belly. And it's like, bro, okay. That seems evil. I don't care how many families you make rich for life. That seems evil still.
He puts the knife back in his pocket. Maybe it was like really trying to prove a point. Like, seriously, I could kill you. I don't know. But of course, like, Halford's like, can we have a word, Mr. Pure, in private? Simon has somewhat of a point, but I think he's justifying what he wants. And he wants his immortality to not affect his family. And wow, how perfect if they were immortal as well, you know? So holding him accountable for his crimes, like, you can't fight him. You can't explain to the police that he's immortal. And he is like, remember, 1896, the Russians and the men above him, when they learned what I was, they wanted to cut me open like a cadaver, which, let's be honest, if I could totally see our government or any government testing on someone who was immortal to figure it out. Like, that person would instantly become a lab rat.
Yeah, and he says the Russian, and it's someone specific that they've brought up before.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So no, not. It's one of those things where I want to hear that story, and I think that my argument, if I was Albert, would be that he has killed 6 people as soon as he got free and got the opportunity to be, part of the world again, even if he's been in this horrible spot this whole time. That means he has to get on a boat and somebody's going to row him until he dissipates into nothingness because he goes beyond the veil or the border or the whatever. You can't just kill 6 people. I mean, I guess it's probably better for the world that these guys learn where all of his haunts and spots and treasure troves of things and artifacts and stuff are. Definitely better for the reader. That's for sure. I don't, you know what I'm saying?
I do like how Arnold's like, he's manipulating you. Simon's like, yeah, of course. But what if he's also telling the truth? So he's like, what do you want us? Okay, so what are we doing then? Albert's like, you can already tell he's still frustrated with the situation, but he's like, I'm in, I guess. I gotta stay here because you almost died last time. So it's almost like they're keeping. Again, I do think this is Simon playing into what if I actually do get what I want? So he's like, let's follow along with whatever is going on. And if he has dark designs, you'll be able to bring them to light. You'll figure it out.
And he reinforces that by reminding him that he stopped Skeleton Key, which we know is the dude with the skeleton jumpsuit and the Benjamin Franklin key. You saved Paul's big blue ox. Haven't seen that story yet, but we know who he's talking about. You exposed the Russian himself, Grigory Chistov. So there you go. And if memory serves, let's go back even further. And then he tells the other story. And it's just like, he's kind of makes a good point, because it's like, man, there's a lot of knowledge and information. Like, yeah, I probably would be less like, yeah, maybe he's for real. And I would be like, man, I don't care if he's for real. What I need is a map of all the things he had and did. And I need all of his documents and his stuff, because just killing this guy is not a good idea. But he's also super dangerous and like is probably going to try to kill us at some point, or what, like there's no way he really wants to be just a good dude now.
Yeah.
And if he does, who knows how long that's going to last, because he's crazy. He's nuts. He's got to be.
We'll see. I do like how Albert brings up again a point like, hey, even if he genuinely wants to bestow immortality on your family, kind of hinting at the fact that immortality is not always all as cracked up to be as it seems. I do like Simon has already thought about that. He won't force it on them, which I think is very much how you can see. I don't really think I could ever see Simon forcing immortality on anyone, you know?
Yeah.
So then they're going to retrieve his hidden wealth. And the books that hold the secret you're pretending you don't want. You know, our adventure awaits. And we see a pretty interesting view of the three of them leaving for their adventure. And shows a hand of someone who was watching the three of them that obviously has a ring with the Founding Fathers symbol on it. It's not good. They've been found. The Founding Fathers. The Finding Fathers.
Finders.
The Finding Fathers.
Well, we know what's coming, so presumably it's someone from the group that snags him here in a few, but we don't get to see this person's face, and it's drawn in such a way that it's like the back of them is a silhouette, even to the point where they look like they have a scarf around their neck and face or something. Like they're looking to be sneaky, but they do have that. Now, I do want to really quick, before we jump to what happens in like this evening and that, just about Brian Hitch, because you'll notice like the guy's hand is over top of a poster of some sort, and it's a movie poster, D.W. Griffith. Like that's a real movie poster, even down to like the shadow and what the shadow kind of covers and doesn't. But more importantly, throughout this issue, there is a lot of effort paid to ensuring historical accuracy in the costumes. And there's quite a variety that, I mean, there's even a one spot where you've got a horse-drawn carriage guy has like the Roby outfit that was very much typical of that specific. Like, there's just, people need to understand that, yeah, you can go out there and draw cityscapes and then they make them look really amazing when superheroes fly through buildings and make them explode. I love that too. But there's a lot of care given here. Like different types of vehicles, different automobiles, different horse-drawn carriages, different types of horses, different types of people. There's just so much in an issue that is primarily a conversation between two best friends about a profoundly evil person they should not trust.
Yeah, he does an excellent job.
And he even draws Paul Revere's house just like it looks as the tourist spot that it is, if you go check it out. And it's like, guys, you're going somewhere like this at night with Benedict Arnold. Like, can we at least do it like, I guess they have to do it at night because even now it's a tourist spot. They just started making it a tourist spot.
Yeah, they have to be sneaky.
Yep.
He said Margaret wanted to come here when it opened.
Right. Well, and Benny says apparently they charge admission because he's been gone this whole time. And he knows of a way. He just picked the lock, like just with an actual lockpick that he just had on hand. And then he knows a way to get into a secret area. But as they're going, they tell the story of Paul Revere and why he mattered to John Hancock, because he listened and he paid attention to what was going on, so he would know when to warn people and how to do it effectively. And a beautiful panel of Paul Revere by Brian Hitch. Holy cow, would love that just framed. But it tells you more of the story that they brought Paul Revere into like their circle because Washington loved him because Paul never wanted to rule. And then we get this story about, the band, the founding fathers and their different characteristics.
Why does this peasant stand among us? His turn before mine? Okay, Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, Benjamin Franklin should be out there starting the first chain of general stores or something.
I love how basically it's explained no one trusted a man who wanted nothing, because these men are all so incredibly greedy. Someone who is inherently good, they don't believe that the person's actually good. That's how twisted their minds are. They're like, well, someone couldn't actually just want to do good.
That they say no one trusted a man who wanted nothing. Yes, I turned on Washington, but I was only the first. It's like, okay. It just kind of glosses over that.
He's like, the rest of them did later too, by the way. I'm a traitor, but so were they.
Yeah. And ultimately he's we don't hear a lot about it. We hear more about it in the bio. But he says when Washington forbade the others from using the power, the founders turned on one another, and Revere wanted no part of it. So it still reinforces that Paul Revere was the good guy and maintained that, including declining, I guess, the ritual offering or whatever that the others wanted to do. But he does say Adams was the aggressor and Paul Revere died quietly. No speeches, no banners. And that makes sense. So we know Paul's gone. Because up to that point, I'm like, oh, we're going to see Paul Revere again. Maybe they had to make him an immortal, even though he declined because he's cool. I doubt it now.
Yeah. And this lovely story is as they're going into, obviously a secret lair. Where Paul Revere kept all of his silver. It's worth a fortune. Albert Einstein said, it does not sound as though this treasure you plan to donate so generously ever belonged to you. He's not wrong. Benedict's just straight up ignoring him, looking for a book.
So he finds a rather large book. And on their way down there, Simon does point out to Albert that he essentially witnessed some of the stuff that he's talking about, and that John Adams was ruthless and methodical. And when Paul was gone, they came for him next. And he only survived because Benedict and him fought Adams together. And it's like, well, we need that issue. Benedict does find the book he wants, big orange book, Paul Revere's journal, his private notes, doubts, but also his account of the ritual.
And he says, oh my gosh, with this and a couple more, I think I can reconstruct the ceremony. I never once considered sharing our gift with anybody, but now, and a ton of water falls on them. Water? Is that water?
Yeah, I think so. And it looks like it just crashes through.
With the blue light, it has to be magically like they made the water flow into this situation.
Yes. my assumption is that the red hooded knuckleheads that drag Benedict out of the water and say, we have him, now what do we do with him? While Simon and Albert look on, use some sort of either explosive device or magic to do that, because it looks like the blue glow persists behind them just in the light of the water and their torchlight. And they have the symbol of the founding fathers on their like cloak claspy things, but none of them, unless you can't see one of their right hands and one of their left hands, I guess. So they might have the ring on, but I don't see any of them wearing the ring.
I think they're all the goons.
I think they are goons.
Passing the ring, you know what I mean?
Yes, but I get the sense, if I recall, that these are not this like that they're wearing the same type of gear, but this is a different era, and they're not the same necessarily like incompetence or same group of people as before. I don't know. It's hard to keep track of that specific thing because they seem to have some capability, right? Like they knew to blow that spot open and grab them.
Yeah.
And the next issue is called The Secret of Immortality. And from this vantage point, it looks like Simon and Albert have to save Benedict. It doesn't look like anything nefarious is going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, I have questions.
Oh.
Now you ask your question.
It's a little different when you go to the next page. I didn't look at the issue 18 preview before I said those words. This looks a lot more like Benedict is going to do really bad things in the next one.
Uh-huh.
Except for Simon looks unhappy. The children look happy. The wife looks unhappy, Margaret. Mm-hmm. And Albert looks unconscious with the axe supplies next to him.
I don't know. Again, this could just be, what are they called? Red herring?
Well, this could be him trying to do the ritual where he may have to pull some of the energy from Simon to give to them. Or there's probably some weird catch or something like that, where it's like, or he gets there and he's like, well, Simon, if this is really what you want to do, if you really want to be a good guy, then I can make all of them immortal, but you have to become mortal. And it's
he's caught right now.
Well, sure, but it looks like you see there's water coming in from above behind there. So maybe it's part of the scheme.
Maybe. But I think he just got kidnapped.
Well, I'm saying if he did, they take him to somewhere nearby where the water is still coming down. It looks very similar with a giant statue of George Washington, and whatever they try to do fails, and he takes over the situation and starts doing this or something.
We'll see.
Yeah. Cool cover, man.
Yeah.
And then there is a very detailed bio about the founding fathers. It does point out a few specific things. On Christmas night, 1776, a ritual intended to grant immortality to Benjamin Franklin was interrupted by a fleeing British soldier. In the years that followed, fractures formed within the founders themselves. And then we get some bios about each of them, some more detailed than others. And it is deep. It is so deep that I'm like, whoa, you get a lot of information out of these bio pages about the founding fathers in the back of this comic book. Other than about John Hancock, which is ironic because he's the one that I thought was the coolest in the early issues. Mm-hmm. He says, well, what you learn about that is that he was the first victim of John Adams' mad rampage in 1793. And the thing about Adams is, impatient with caution and hungry to wield the fire more boldly, Adams was manipulated by Benedict Arnold into turning against his founding fathers.
This says that John Adams and Thomas Jefferson were consumed by the axe.
They were consumed.
Or the fire or whatever.
The Great Fire consumed John Adams in 1826, along with Thomas Jefferson, after he was cut by Washington's axe, is what it says in John Adams' one. So, like, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot here. So we know some of them are still around, some of them aren't. We know that probably one of those like images on the back cover with the blue glowing person is probably one of those, I would think. And we know Patrick Henry is the example of what happens to them if they go too far, because he died by going beyond the border of the United States or the border of America. I feel like Benjamin Franklin not ever getting immortality could be like a, but he did later type of thing.
Or that's, it's like in, what is that monster movie that's animated with Adam Sandler?
Hotel Transylvania?
Yeah, where the guy who's famous for hunting monsters like continues his legacy on through his like it's like a thing.
Van Helsing?
Yeah. Van Helsing. So he like keeps every Helsing is like, must get him. So maybe that's where the skeleton key comes from, because Benjamin's still he was so mad that Redcoat stole his immortality that he was like, I will start a tradition with all of the Franklins. That'd be cool.
You know what's interesting in several of these, some of them say bearer of the Great Fire, or the Great Fire consumed that person, and the Great Fire are both capitalized. And then in a lot of other places, it says like about Paul Revere, the humble silversmith saw the fire capitalized more as a curse than a gift. So there's like some like ongoing reason that that's happening, but it does emphasize, after explaining basically that most of these people are dead and gone, is that unknown to even Simon and Benedict, death has never claimed George Washington. Yeah. Bom, bom, bom. And that's why you read bios in Ghost Machine Comics.
Yes.
And that wraps up another fantastic issue from the world of the Unnamed.
Very exciting.
And to wrap up this episode of the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast, we have a fantastic mail. Would you like to read it?
Yeah, it's from 9921. 21 is spelled out. AZ says, will the Unbelievables crossover involve Rook or Redcoat? Thank you for your show. I will answer this in an easy way, and then Nick can be more detailed. No.
Why not? Why won't it?
So we have a couple different universes here in Ghost Machine. You've got the Unnamed, which if you look at the back of the comic books, you get to see that includes like Redcoat, the Northerner, First Ghost, Widow X, Junkyard Joe, Geiger, right? And then the Unbelievables is a different universe. So that's Hornsby and Halo, Rockefellers, the $1 Trillion Kid that's about to come out, and a lot of very fun other looking ones. Mad Ghost, right? Yeah. Holiday Heights, etc. And the Rook universe, correct me if I'm wrong here, the Rook universe is just the Rook universe right now.
Yeah, they've alluded to some additional content possibly coming out, only because they get asked a lot, like, can we get more of that? Because people like the world, but truly, that's literally the only, it's not even an official thing. It's just multiple times they've alluded to something more is coming from the world of Rook.
Yeah.
But no, not in any crossover sense.
Yeah. Maybe like a homage by putting I don't know, them in the background of a comic book or something like that. Like we got with the Trick or Treat episode with the
Rockefellers.
Yeah, the Rockefellers were trick or treating, and you saw people in costumes behind them from different comics. You saw like a little Junkyard Joe has appeared in a couple of comics that aren't in his universe as the action figure, but that's about it. So no.
But if you're relatively new to Ghost Machine, and I get the impression that this person may have been after some other online interaction. So it's a fair question, right? Because if you've probably seen this Unbelievables map with a lot of really neat stuff on it, and you've heard that it's a crossover. And in the past, when you've heard crossover, you're like, oh, that means like the universes are crossing over or whatever, or the titles are crossing over. Well, when you go in the back of the comics, there's, like Snoggle said, it breaks them down into the 4 different ones. And the Unbelievables is the moniker is replacing what was called the Family Odysseys, because it's way more than Hornsby and Halo and the Rockefellers, even though we really like those two. The $1 Trillion Kid is going to be a mini series that goes on simultaneously with some Hornsby and Halo and Rockefellers issues, which are going to introduce us into the world of the Unbelievables. And presumably and hopefully, we're going to see some more titles in the future from a lot of the cool stuff on that Unbelievables map. But that has nothing to do with your favorite immortal, Redcoat, or Rook, or Direwolf, or any of the folks from Rook Exodus. And if you would like to send us a fantastic mail, we would love to hear from you with a question, a comment, a heckle, or all of the above at ghostmachinefans@gmail.com. And you can find all of our other content at www.ghostmachinefans.com, where our social platforms are listed, as well as our wiki. And if you'd like to join the conversation on Discord, you can find the invite on our info on Instagram at Ghost Machine Fans, or on Reddit, the Ghost Machine Comics Reddit. It's in the announcements in the front when you go right in there.
And thanks so much for joining us tonight on the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast.
Never Trust a Man Named Benedict Arnold podcast.